we're good to go.
All right, we'll make sure we give it a couple seconds for the buffer. What's going on, guys? I'm Supreme Overlord, and I'm here with Wally, and we're on the first ever All Things Raid podcast. Wally, I'll let you take over. We're going to jump right into it.
Yeah, so we're going to start off with what's next in Raid video, and let's get into that. So let's react to this real quick, and let's get our thoughts as the videos keep going.
For another episode of What's Next in Raid, because we've got some exciting updates coming soon. There's Faction Wars Hard Mode, an expansion to Siege battles with some new mechanics, a first look at this year's Community Weeks, and more. So buckle up, and let's get into it. We'll start with an old and popular feature that has been around for almost as long as Raid itself. We thought it was about time for an update, so enter Faction Wars Hard Mode. The concept is simple. Greater challenges, greater rewards. You'll unlock hard mode by finishing all faction crypts and collecting the final Faction Wars reward on normal mode, Lydia the Death Siren. The schedule will be the same on both difficulties, so don't worry about there being a mismatch on opening days. You'll also be able to access hard mode crypts with the same keys you'd use to access normal mode crypts. All crypts will be significantly harder, but that also means better rewards. We're talking artifact crafting materials, glyphs, including rank 6 glyphs in rare, epic, and legendary rare.
Now, this is pretty brand new because this is actually something that was sort of like very different, right? Because now they're talking about different rarities of glyphs. Like we never had rarities in glyphs before. So this is it,
which is awesome. Yeah, that and Faction Wars getting a good overhaul and update. I'm still ways away from hard mode, but still exciting to have something else to push for or push towards, right?
Right. So, this is one of the more very interesting things. So that's why I was like, this is very telling in the fact that now we're getting glyphs, but now in rarities. I wonder how dramatic this would be, like how this would be changing overall, because there's some fact that now they're adding rarities to it. But what I also find interesting as well is, let me slide back a little bit in what they were mentioning. Hold up, let me see if
so don't worry about there being a mismatch on opening days. You'll also be able to access hard mode crypts with the same keys you'd use to access normal mode crypts. All crypts will be significantly harder, but that also means
right here. So if you see right here, right, material drops, right, where they're giving you us the new relics from Faction Wars. Now we're getting new relics from Faction Wars out of hard mode, which is very expected, and more so than not, is very expected. But the thing is that I sort of find a little bit of a displease. You think like you're going to hard mode, right? You would think you would get like new different crafting materials overall for some new set of gears in hard mode, but I guess not. So it's sort of, because by this time I would think.
Oh yeah, it's just the same materials except for the relic stuff, right?
Yeah, because
is that what you mean?
Yeah. So because most people don't really, I don't think so. No one really cares to get the same material types. I mean, granted, yes, more material, unless it's like a lot of more material drops than the usual. It's fine, but it's sort of just like a sort of a damper. So I was thinking they would actually give some newer versions, which means like some newer gear, but I guess not. But
yeah, that's that because I agree, because it could have been like mythical drops in mythical material drops in hard mode, but maybe that's for another update.
Mythical drops right here for the relic, but they don't have it for the actual.
That's what I mean up there, though. I thought there'd be two more slots for like a brand new set of gear, like you were saying too.
Yeah.
Better rewards. We're talking artifact crafting materials, glyphs, including rank 6 glyphs in rare, epic, and legendary rarities, and new rewards like relic crafting materials for a brand new group. And those are just the goodies that drop from regular crypt stages. We're also introducing a whole new line of rewards. The challenges are harder, though. Clearing a stage with no losses will only net you 2 stars this time around. Getting 3 will require something special. It might be killing enemies while they're under 10 deep.
Oh, see, that is excessive. Now, this is one of the small. Yeah, so like I think like just being able to just beat a boss under 10 bucks. Like what world? like, what if people don't have that type of, you know, je ne sais quoi of champions that can push out that much debuffs, let alone to land it at that point in the game? It's like you're pretty much stuck, like, with 2 stars then, until you're able to do that.
Yeah, I see what you mean there. True. I guess it's just something that, like, it's just more progression, right? Making it so that you'll have to get to a certain stage before you can 3-star everything. So not just like rush through it. Like, I guess they're trying to slow the star progression down. I guess I'm not sure. I'm assuming that the new faction will come with this new rework.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. This is for hard mode.
Yeah.
Like, so hard mode, you're definitely gonna have to do a challenge to kill off the boss.
For sure.
It can't be, so it's crazy challenges, but it's like, I think it's just so much, like, over too much. But I guess, you know, it has to be something that Raid has to do just to keep you, quote unquote, occupied. So yeah,
keep you working on things. But now, is that only in hard mode or in both normal and hard mode?
No, I think this is just hard mode. Normal still.
Oh, okay. So kind of like it won't even affect the newer players then, because it's
it shouldn't. Yeah,
see it. Okay. That makes sense.
If they do that, that would be horrible. That would be way horrible.
Yeah, I get what you're saying for sure.
Yeah.
Buffs or landing a specific number of final blows with the champion under perfect veil. Be sure to check out what challenge awaits you on each specific stage. Speaking of challenges, you'll also have to face off against much stronger faction crypt keepers too. Each updated boss will have its own focus, whether it's damage over time, single target damage, etc. Each new tainted crypt keeper is visually distinct for your convenience. And we'll make sure there are in-game boss guides to help you out. The challenge completion rewards for clearing hard.
Like, I definitely do like the fact that they have their little new designs. Like,
oh my god,
your little vast colorings. But yeah, this is pretty interesting. I like what they have right here. This little question mark box. I wonder if those are, like, I don't know what they are, but I know they're hiding whatever that could be. But that would be interesting depending on what it is.
Maybe the new champion shards, because they said weren't some of the rewards going to be champion shards.
Yeah, but they said that was going to be through a calendar, so I don't know.
Oh, that's just the calendar. Okay, well, it wasn't anything there.
Yeah, okay. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's very weird, but okay, that's something. But
cool.
Yeah, but funny enough, like, we got a legendary in Faction Wars. Now we got a mythical in the Wakes, so that's pretty interesting. But the new, pretty much the Advent boss is just going to be a different color across the board. Yeah, I know people are saying like. I heard people talking about, like, you know, people should, like, the boss should have some type of story background, like, why is it so important? Like, why is it there?
Try to have some lore behind it. Just not just the recolor and the new abilities. But I like that. I like that approach to where it's like each different stage of the Faction Wars tower, or whatever you want to call it, is got like a different strategy, right? Poison over time or damage over time, single affinity, all those things, right? So it'll be fun to see how Faction Wars team development is gonna happen as a result, right? So it's cool. I like it.
All right, let's go.
Hard mode stages are pretty awesome too. And they'll also include a mythical champion you won't be able to get anywhere else. So get out there and
the new mythical looks sweet. Design.
Yeah, she looks pretty badass.
Exactly. Like, that sword is just crazy.
Also include a mythical champion you won't be able
this skin looks
to
cool
get
to me
anywhere
right. That's
else.
The one that I was trying to get. That frozen whatever she is, that's so sick. Yeah. Probably a tank support somewhere similar to like Freya, maybe, or I don't know. We'll see how that kit plays out.
Right. Give me a moment. Video.
Get out there and conquer Faction Wars today to make sure you're ready for when hard mode drops. Next up, let's talk about changes coming to Siege. All clan fortress buildings will have their max level increased from 3 to 6. That means 90 additional defense team slots, more battles for all participating players, and more resources that can be won. We're also planning a new mechanic for magic towers and defense towers. These defensive measures can conceal some of the champions garrisoned in a tower before a fight begins, or apply debuffs to the attacking team. Think of them like traps. They're a tool to mislead the enemy and utilize a greater range of tactics to make breaking through your defenses even harder. We're also expanding siege tiers up to 8. New tiers? That must mean new rewards, I hear you ask. You're right. Winning sieges in tiers 7 and 8 comes with greater rewards, such as unique crafting materials for another new group of relics coming down the line. But it'll be more difficult to stick around than it is in tiers 1 to 6.
So we're getting new relics for siege battles. All right, interesting. So that means now it's a little bit more enticing for players to now consider, well, not even just players, but clans to consider actually battling in siege. Because now you get the Pharaoh gear, right? And then at the same time, now you're getting new relics.
And I like the fact that we can just put more teams in there. That way, when like when you're in a bigger, I don't know if one of the first guilds that I got into or clans that I got into, I wasn't able to set any defensive teams because they were all like filled up, right? So it kind of opens up for some of those bigger clans. Maybe they can have more people add defensive teams. 90 additional teams sounds maybe kind of daunting if you have a small clan, but we'll see how that works in practice. But I think those changes sound really cool to me. I've only been dabbling in Siege, but it's been fun, and I like setting up those defensive and offensive teams and doing those battles. So I'm excited to see what we get.
Yeah. I mean, because it's 90 defensive teams, so pretty much that means you have to have at least 30 players in the clan, and out of the 30 players, everyone drops like 3 teams on defense. So yeah, it balances out.
You'll need to reach a certain number of siege points to enter tier 7, and winning a battle there will propel you into tier 8. However, losing battles will drop you to lower tiers, and you'll have to win again to return. We'll also be tweaking some existing mechanics, such as victory conditions tweaks meant to deal with siege draws and clan management tools, to see where we can improve there. Keep an eye on the patch notes coming in the future to learn more. A slightly smaller feature we've got coming, but no less exciting, is leaderboards. Bring bragging rights. In essence, we're implementing dedicated leaderboards for all arena modes and the 6 dungeons. You'll be able to see the top 3 performers in the arena or dungeons collectively, but you'll also be...
Now, I hope that this leaderboards is not just overall, and you could also look and see, like, okay, what is the leaderboards amongst your own clan? Because that's the main thing I want. I want to be able to know, like, what my own clan is doing inside the leaderboard. Like, okay, like, who's my top player? Like, who's my top teammate in Fire Knight, Spider, Dragon Lord? Because now that actually helps you be able to help your team to actually build better teams in those areas, so you know who's lacking and who's up there.
Yeah, like where it shows beside like you know what I mean, your ranking. Like even if it's not in the top 100, if you're like 1,350, let's say, then you see that that's like the lowest ranked, and somebody else on your highest rank might be 725 if you're in like that mid-range group. But like when you start getting, it'll be nice to see who's producing, or just another metric to see how well your clan's doing, and then who needs help as well, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
So you know it gives you that force ahead of that. Yeah.
I was thinking about it in a different way too. Like I like it just in general because I'm competitive by nature. So having things to want to push to try to be the top of, I think is a good aspect to have. I know people are already trying to get that feeling out of live arena, and so hopefully that just adds to that and satiates a little bit more of the league community when it comes to competing within the game.
Right.
Be able to see the top 100 players for each separate mode and location within the arena and dungeons. These leaderboards will be separated by region and will be refreshed each week for arena and every 2 weeks for dungeons. Scoring high on the global and regional leaderboards will net you some sweet avatar frames and unique badges to show off on your raid profile. Finally, Community Weeks is coming back. We've got a new event plan to celebrate you, our wonderful community, and the bonds you forged with one another on your adventures in Teleria. So, what's new? Well, we're introducing a new 25-day login program, similar to an advent calendar.
So the new 25-day rewards calendar. So this is interesting. Because now, so
10th, April 10th?
Yeah, so if you see it right here, right? So April 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. Yeah, this will start at 10. Yeah, April 10. So that's when it's coming in. So,
starting off with 25 fragments, though. That's pretty nasty.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. But this is crazy. So now, if this is the new way, right, of doing, the new quote unquote logins for all the new legendaries coming on in with this advent calendar for the rewards, right? Then I wonder, is this literally going to be like the same but just different now? It's like now we collect them in fragments. Because if this is the new way for the new champions that we get for free, then this would actually be pretty daunting, because now imagine someone were to miss a day or so. You're missing out on one of these rewards.
I think since it's part of the community event, I think it's more of like an appreciation. It's on top of all the other calendars. If I think he says that like at the beginning of this, where it's on top of all the other login rewards. And when he clicks on the tab, you can still see daily and champion login. So I think it's only going to be community based. So like these are like the thank you for playing raid sort of situation. So you'll get a free legendary or whatever it is that they're going to be throwing out as materials within the advent calendar style. I wonder how many times a year they're going to do that though. Is this going to be like a regular?
And the bonds
did they used to do community events before? Or have you done a community event before? I've never seen one before.
No, this is literally like the first time they did it like this. I haven't really seen anything community-wise that was like...
They're on your adventures in Teleria. So, what's new? Well, we're introducing a new 25-day...
See right there. Oh.
Let me see if I can catch
in Teleria. So, what's new? Well, we're introducing a new 25...
Okay, so right. So, okay, rewards count.
So it's this whole... Yeah, it's whole separate own thing.
Yeah. So I'm guessing. Okay, so yeah, so this right here.
That's the champion chase.
That's
title and hidden menu.
Yeah, that's definitely.
It's a placeholder right done. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the chase. But see, that's what I'm saying. Like they need to separate it, because like, okay, they got the daily logins, right? They got the whoever is the chase at the time. Then they need to put the new 7 days, like 7 days 1, 7 days 2. Login rewards, so they don't overlap each other, because they tend to do that. I don't know why. They need to separate that. And then of course they got the rewards calendar. So okay, interesting.
So it'd be cool. A cool way to get some free stuff from them as appreciation. I think that's a cool like loyalty program stuff. I'm always a fan of stuff like that, right? So referral stuff. Yeah, that's cool. I like that addition. It is kind of like kick you in the pants when you miss a day and you don't get that daily login. So for those that are, I mean, maybe like work like swing shifts or something like that and just sleep through a reset, you know what I mean, and don't forget to sign on right before reset to get that one that they miss, you know what I mean. Like it's gonna suck to see some people miss out like that, but I get it. It makes they're trying to create an incentive for us to log in daily, right, and keep playing. So I get it.
But at the same time, also too, it's pretty interesting, like I said, because of course it's like they're giving a free they're pretty much giving you free resources if you miss out. I mean, honestly, I don't think so. The miss out part should be like that. It's like, okay, if you're behind, then you just be left behind. Like just because someone logged in consistently and they're on day 15, but you haven't logged in consistently, so you miss, so you're pretty much behind 7 days, and you're at number 8.
Something like that.
Yeah. So
it's gonna be painful, but
I mean, but it's like for some people, I mean, automatically it's just like, okay, quickly log in, log out. It's like, just get in and get out. But but it's definitely gonna be something I mean, it's the game though, because
for those, it's kind of brilliant.
Yeah,
it's kind of brilliant in one way, like when you think about it, like marketing ways or like kind of sales ways, because it's going to build a habit of you signing on for however long this event goes on every single day, and then that's just going to transition for how many days past the event, right? And then hopefully long enough to get you to the next reward calendar they throw out. That's kind of genius.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting though. But I will say though, the reward calendar is coming in recent couple of days from now, right? That this will be interesting for new players coming on in that's plugging themselves into the game.
just a little bit about 2 weeks now, and we go live. That's roughly when we start our. Oh no, the second is when we start our challenge.
Yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but
5-day login program.
Because so this is the first is on April the 10th, so that's interesting. Let me mark that. Let me mark that and remember. But yeah.
Similar to an advent calendar, a specific slot will unlock each day, and you'll need to log in to claim the reward assigned to it. You'll want to log in every day, or you might miss out on some serious goodies. On some of the days, you'll be able to claim fragments for a brand new legendary champion, Udex Artor, created especially for community weeks.
Udex Artor. I wonder how good this guy's going to be, since he's technically free. I wonder. Hopefully he's probably maybe defense or HP base.
I'm sure he's going to be a champion that's going to be half decent in early mid game and probably fall off, forcing us to kind of, you know what I mean? But still, he looks really, really BA, you know?
Yeah, he looks really good. He looks like he's going to be because the way the background, he's definitely Sacred Order. He looks
I like that armor, man. He looks just like a fallen knight or something. I don't know what he looked, but he looks awesome.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. I can't wait until they actually speak about what his skills are, so then we know exactly what we're getting into. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Don't worry about missing out on the fragments, though. You'll still be able to claim them before the daily login rewards come to an end. Still, it's better to log in every day.
Okay, so we're not able to claim the rewards, but we're able to claim the fragments.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So I'm sure there's going to be more than 100 fragments.
Yeah.
Not the whole calendar for people.
Yeah, they're going to have 100. So the fragments, so if the fragment pop up or the fragments going to be coming within the calendar, then that means automatically we're able to pick the fragments, but the rewards we can miss out on, which is insane.
And you know what? He looks like a support champion for sure. Those pauldrons look freaking so cool. Do you see that have those lions on there?
Yeah.
I really want him now. Man. They just man, Ray does really good with their character design, man. I'm impressed.
All right, hold on. Let's finish
to claim the other resources as well. The final reward of the Community Week's Advent Calendar is a legendary relic, and you get to decide what it'll be. When the time comes, you'll get to vote on one of 4 options. Rally your friends, make your vote count, and determine the boon every player will receive. We're nearly done, but a What's Next in Raid video is never complete without a sneak peek at some upcoming champions. Feast your eyes on these.
Now, this guy looks so interesting. I love this design.
That guy looks cool.
This looks
so got a little bit of Diablo in him.
Yeah.
But
I was hoping that, yeah. Because I was hoping he'd be like the mythical, and I'm like, he has a different transformation, but they didn't show that, so I'm like,
Oh, I wonder if he is a mythical. Yeah.
He
has like a human form or something like that.
Sick.
That is, yeah. I love those horns, man.
Oh my goodness.
But to touch base on the relic,
incredible new war.
Yeah.
The relic there, it kind of is a little bit deceiving there. It makes it seem like you're going to get a choice of which relic you're going to get, but then you get to vote for it. So it could be a real thing. You should just get the choice. Like we were talking about earlier. I was like, you should just get the choice which one you get, and that should be it. No voting and stuff like that. But they're trying to get engagement from their community, right? So engagement.
Yeah. I mean, the voting part is only one thing that's sort of like bad about this, but ultimately the real bad thing is just getting it right, because I could sit here and say, hey, overall, I mean, it's a nice thing that Raid is giving us a chance to get one of these legendary artifacts of relics, right? But the problem is, though, well, how much of everybody is far ahead to get the sockets? If you're not far ahead to get some of the good sockets that are needed to place into these relics, then they're really not that effective. So, that's like that one thing, like right there, like, ooh, you're missing the socket part. And if you're not in the higher levels to get those sockets, you're not going to really be able to do nothing with the relic. Sort of sucks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the new champions are looking pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
We're nearly done, but a What's Next in Raid video is never complete without a sneak peek at some upcoming champions. Feast your eyes on these incredible new warriors coming to the game over the next few months.
There. Now, I know they had... hold on, let me see. Okay,
the second one was the incredible new warriors.
Yeah. This one right here. This is the Faction Wars one. Now, we all know she's a mythical. I'm guessing the ice form is her mythical form. So it's like, I guess she could have something to do with...
Oh, yeah, that's... Bro. So that means that she's got an offensive, because she doesn't have a shield here in this setup. So that means one form is an offensive like form, and then the other one's a defensive form.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah. So this,
that is cool.
And from her background, she's also Sacred Order. So this is another Sacred Order champion right here.
Yeah, it gives me that vibe too.
Yeah,
for sure.
Warriors coming to the game over the next few months. And that's it for.
It's funny how they made this one the last one. Like
I like that guy.
Know, right? Remember, like the Packmaster. Yeah. So here's the final fucking dog that they were supposed to sell us, right?
Oh, I remember. I saw a video about that. How it was supposed to be that Taskmaster or that champion and everything.
Yeah,
didn't work out as well as it was intended. So they're going to add another one and try to make that buff or his kit more relevant, right?
Right.
I don't know. For me, when I first started, the first time I got Fellhound, not Fellhound, the one that you get that drops from stage 12, Hound Spawn or something like that.
Yeah, Hound Spawn, yeah.
And so I was like, dude, this is going to be the coolest. I thought he was going to be like the strongest champion. And I was like, I like Demon Spawn, dogs, Cerberuses, stuff like that. So that guy looks awesome to me. And you know what? I kind of want to go for that champion and try to get that pack going, because that'll be freaking cool.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is finally interesting. So what that tells me is, right, because of the fact that now they're finally welcoming the legendary dog. Some people thought it was going to be a mythical dog, but legendary dog.
Mm-hmm.
That tells me is more likely Packmaster Shayak, he's going to get a rework. Because you got to add the new dog into the whole listing.
Yeah, that's what I remember somebody, maybe it was Hell Hades or Nubs or somebody made a video about how there was speculation or rumors that was in the works.
I think it was, Scratch was talking about 2 champions.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
And you're like, ooh.
I know he mentioned the Orc mythical. I think it's Dragon Soul, something like that. And then he mentioned Warlord Frost King getting a rework, and he saw it on Facebook over there, and to confirm that's something that's going to be intended later down the line as far as them getting a rework. So it's going to be interesting.
I like the changes that are coming.
Yeah.
Now, we hope you're excited about these new.
All right. So
that's basically it.
That's pretty much right there. But pretty interesting though. Pretty interesting. But let's go on to the next topic, and that is just real quick. We're gonna touch on Raid Shadow Legends 10.30 update. Right. We want to talk about this just a tad bit. So
10.3 or 10.30.0.
Yeah.
6th anniversary patch. The introduction of some quality of life improvements to Siege, as well as the live arena seasons released, as well as multi-battle, right? Those were the 3 main points. A bunch of balancing in item reworks, I think. But for the most part, those were the 3 big ones.
Yeah, live arena overhaul as far as instead of 1 point, you get 7, and then for penalty for inactivity, you just lose 1 point, which just to speed up the progress, which is it's cool. But this is probably by far this is probably the most ungrueling thing that they probably ever did. Literally, the live arena seasonal league. Don't get me wrong, the seasonal stuff is all good and all. However, but to sit here and say that only one person gets these mythical, I think is what fragments for these new gear sets, and then everybody else, just tanking behind with whatever. It's like no one don't get at least a decency of mythical. Like top 10 could at least get 50, and then top 100 can get at least 25.
Yeah, like, it's gonna be dog eat dog out there, man. People are gonna be chomping at the bit. Whoever's like, this is cool because like for all the whales and all the people that have like top tier end game accounts, now they'll like, if they're content creators, are going to have content where they can, show what that level of competition is at the very, very 1%. So it's be cool to see that content. So I'm excited for that. But it is going to be freaking grueling, man. That's wild. I'm glad that I'm still like 2-3 years away from that.
Yeah, but it's so it's like I hate the idea of gatekeeping things from other players that can't even touch it, and it's just so abysmal. It's like, because now are you gonna just sit here and say, well, whoever wants to be top 100 and plus, like whoever wants to be top 100 and above, start popping out your wallets? It's like that's all you're really trying to tell people, and it's because
you need the stronger teams to compete at that 1%.
Yeah,
I hear what you're saying there.
Yeah.
And when you mean like gatekeeping, not in the sense of like introducing it to people at such a low level, because like if you have access to it, like, and you don't have even like one good live arena team, you know what I mean? Like if you don't even have like 6 champions, like you should be focusing on other stuff, right? So like, do you mean like from in the upper echelon, how it makes it difficult between those people that are actually going to be going for it, or like in general for the whole player base?
I mean, okay, I'll say it like this, right? So let's say hypothetically the boxes, right? The box, like right here where it says the 5s, the 4s, the 3s. Let's say those are actually having the gears, right? They drop off the gears at random, whatever, and then they give you the gear. Plus they give you any of the accessories, right? So for 100, I mean, yeah, it's okay if you're able to get top 100 because at least you're still getting like 3 different sets of gear every other time with 3 different sets of accessories, right? But then these new relic pieces right here that are along the way is like no one's gonna get these. Like if there's only just 100 players, then that means out of the remaining rest, you're pretty much out the loop and out of the whole, just out of the whole thing, just to even get these, and just to sit here and say, oh well, we're only putting this amongst our top 100 players. You're pretty much screwing everybody else because now everyone else is now not able to get those, and it's like, okay, only a certain group of people are. So that means there is no way to make it balanced and fair. You're just really much now. This is why I'm saying, like at this point, is like whoever is in the top 100s and you're getting this consistently, it's only a matter of time before you automatically just gatekeep it. And then the game becomes to a point of you're never going to really see like top 100s, give or take, because someone's going to be always ahead of you, which don't get me wrong, everyone's going to be ahead of you if you've been in this game longer enough. But just to make that bridge even deeper by having these and then separating the play, just like the player range, is like, that's sort of a little bit of a backfire in my mind.
Yeah, because the unintended side effect there is like eventually if you realize if you're in the bottom like 75% and you realize there's no shot of you being able to get those chests, you just stop playing the mode, and then all of a sudden that'll shrink the people that are going to be playing in there, and then there's going to be long queue times, and it's just going to be a pain in the butt, right? So
right, because everyone else can...
weird. I don't know.
Yeah,
for me it's kind of like I'm so far from there, so it doesn't really register, like, right? But it yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, because I mean, definitely, because like you said before, right? Other content creators, other big content creators that are deep in live arena can show these off, but reality is like, who cares? You show it off, then what? I mean, I know I will never be able to have them. The next person won't be able to have them because now they got the actual stuff. Now the compete is not really the champions that you have. The compete is now the money you spend.
It can be, yeah, because if not, it's just well, look at Boozer's account though. It just takes a lot of time for
right,
you
but I mean, with Boozer,
to get to the be able.
Like,
he's built different. Well, he goes by alarms. He milks everything perfectly.
Yeah, but I think for him it's just the simple fact of that's just the payment of being in the game since it dropped. Right. For other people that haven't been in the game since it dropped, it's like that's a whole different notion.
Yeah, so he's got like he's invested the time where other people have invested the money, which ends out equaling out because of how well his roster is built. It competes against the top 1%, but not everybody's going to be like all right, I have to commit for the next 5 years in order to be able to compete in these for these chests in as a free to play player, right? Or maybe it's not 5 years, maybe it'll take 2 or 3 years. Like I'm sure people are going to min max how to be able to free to play up to here. Maybe that might be a challenge in its own, and eventually, but still, it seems like it's going to be, like you say, predominantly whoever spends the most money or just has the best luck with shards, right? In general,
give or take, yeah. But let's get on though. But that's just small stuff. But these are the two gears right here, the two new variable gear sets that they have brung up, which are lovely in design. For sure, like lovely in design.
They look cool. They do.
Yeah, but okay. So Stone Cleaver set, right? So this is designed to counter Stone Skin teams and just demolish. Just imagine how much people would love to have this, only to know now that you're just like literally like imagine you end up starting getting to Hydra. You're able to start beating Hydra. You're able to start doing some decent damage, and you're getting the chest, and you're like, finally, I can get some Stone Skin and I can compete in, arena and live arena a little bit more, right? And the next thing you know, nope, your dreams have been swallowed. Your dream has been
have to get this too.
Guess what? Because now there's newer players that are going to get this damn set, and they're going to destroy your Stone Skin, and you have no real defenses against them. It's like everything that you worked so hard for is now being diminished and lowered. It's like, okay, Stone Skin was yesterday. It don't matter no more. It's like, damn, like what the frick? What did I just work for? Nothing. And you're just diminishing it again. So it's like crap, because now not everyone can get Stone Cleaver.
No doubt, it's a little bit of a similar. Where they're staying on the same progression of like a lot of people are saying like the gear that you get from Dragon and from like campaign and stuff like that is basically irrelevant now, because of the gear that you can get from the Forge, right? And now Stone Skin, right? And then this. So eventually everybody's going to have these top tier gears, and then all those other sets are going to be kind of useless, and it's going to be like power crept or whatever you can say. So they're making even more irrelevant the other sets. So interesting to see, but maybe they're planning an overhaul of the lower tier artifacts, or maybe trying to put some sort of mechanic in there so that even someone that has the basic gear can get a foot into these areas. You know what I mean? At least to compete, because it's an interesting thing that they got going on with that, right?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah. And then as far as their next set, which is the Rebirth set, this is supposed to be focused on sustaining and revivers. So pretty much survivability, and then making sure you're able to revive one of your your dead allies in good condition, because this is also bringing in block damage buffs once per round. So this is pretty interesting, right? This is a pretty interesting set because this puts revivers on a whole nother tier. Like, think about champions like Ursula the Mourner, right? That can revive the whole team. And if she had this set, it's just broken. She'll be broken.
So it's just a passive revive on top. So you can kind of make anyone a reviver with this set. Is that essentially what it's saying? Or just adding another layer to your reviver?
No, I don't think that's how it plays. It's like you have to actually revive your allies. And
this just boosts a revive. Like
it boosts a reviver's effects. Yeah, it boosts a reviver's effects.
I see what you're saying.
Definitely going to be interesting.
My bad.
So yeah, it's crazy because you're literally reviving any of your allies with 10% extra HP and turn meter. You're granting them a block damage buff once per round when an ally is killed, right? And then you're decreasing the cooldown of a revived ally's skill. Like it's freaking bonkers. Like this is insanity. So if you have a champion like I said, Ursula the Mourner, that can revive all your allies, a Duchess, and anybody else, this set is literally going to break the habits of a lot of things just by reviving alone. It's very nasty. work. It's very nasty work. But for those that actually
speed boost is huge, though, man.
Yeah,
in
but
general,
to get this, it's gonna be crazy. I know they're gonna love this set.
Holy crap!
So, yeah, these two new sets are pretty broken.
So, yeah, that that is crazy. So, I wonder if that's a 4-piece set or a 2-piece set. Oh no, it's a new set. It's a 9-piece set, right? Yeah, it's a 9-piece set. So I wonder at what stage you get the 32% speed boost, or is this in the order that they're going to appear? You think? So the first, just one piece is going to give you 32%. That'd be freaking broken if that was the case.
No, because since it's 9, it's definitely going to be like more than that. Let me see. Because I think I got another one that tells you. Okay, yeah. Here, let me show you this one. So over here, it breaks it down, right? If you can, let me make sure. Yeah. So this is for the Stone Cleaver set. So if you
it gives you speed 3 times. Okay, I see what this.
Yeah. So
I'm totaling up to 35%. That would have been wild if at just one chunk you got 35. But no, that makes it pretty decent.
Yeah. So by the time you get to the 8th, you'll get like the 32% speed.
Yeah.
By the time you get to the 8th piece, which is insane.
I like it. That's gonna be pretty good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, let's go on to it. And then now, of course, the big time waiting update that a lot of people were praying and hoping for, which was backgrounds multi-battles, which honestly been pretty good. I wish versus having the first installment, you just give us the full installment, but beggars can't be choosers. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. But the one thing that I will say as far as just getting it is the wait period just for everyone to get it. And then 2, the fact that if you're a brand new player, you have to wait until level 45. Like if anyone that ever started Raid Shadow Legends like back in the days that knew what it looked like to start the game, like you had to wait until you were level like 40 just so you can get quick upgrades for your gear. Now you have to wait until level 45 just to have background battles, so you can somewhat mitigate your time. Like I wish they sort of fixed that. I wish they had made that a little bit lesser. Like multi battles are so quickly in the game at the start. Like just give it free to everybody, or at least
right at level 10 or something like that. It should have
level 10. Like give it at least the limit of level 10, and that okay, fine, give it to them. It's like I didn't think level 45,
especially when you need them the most, right? Because when you're trying to level your campaign farmer, so much easier to be able to set that queue of all the champions that you wanted to keep just auto battling through, so that way you don't have to be so focused on it.
Right.
And that's when you're doing the most champion training at the very beginning, so at least new players can be throwing that in the background and going and exploring the rest of the game, and hopefully getting more and more hooked onto Raid.
Yeah, but I mean, granted, it's not like we can really explore, because once you lock into that, it's like you can't really do anything else, which is another thing that I wish they just gave us.
You can do minor things, but you can't do like any other battles and stuff like that, though.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Like champion training and shopping and minor stuff.
Yeah, minor. It's like
artifact stuff. You can do like a cleanse. You can do. You know what? Because sometimes, dude, I'm about to do a massive cleanse here because I just dumped like 1,000, well, like 1,400 energy, like I was telling you, into the current dragon tournament, and I'm going to do another probably like 500 or 600 here in a minute, and to be able to have that going on and then be doing a gear cleanse at the same time would be pretty awesome, because that takes a long time sometimes. Especially when you got so much to go through. You know what I mean? So it's got some benefits. It's got some really good uses. But yeah. It was available earlier. I agree.
And, it's funny because Nubrace, he tested it right on his side of the channel. He said that actually when you do background battles, it's actually faster than just normally doing just multi battles, which
are they? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because it uses the same simulation model as when you do the instant clan boss thing, right? So it does it's just like a bar, right? So it probably does it faster in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would speed up the process to get new players up to 60 on their first campaign farmer, right? So hey, not bad. I like it.
Yeah. But small things. And of course they got some siege quality of life updates as far as like, what they think is priority to attack, what they think is minimal, what they think is low, which, is pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It is more better communication. And I do believe that this is pretty good, as far as like, okay,
communicate between teammates.
Yeah, like so you can tell them like where someone should think about it. I mean, granted, it's a small little update for the simple fact of
before the big one coming for sure, but yeah.
Oh yeah, because most people, because you would rather be able to be like the peak communication would be like, okay, telling a specific teammate like, hey, you attack this area or you attack that area, so everyone gets their little spots. Who should they attack? And then who should they, focus on, so then they can get in there, also make points. Because I think, just to gain the rewards, you have to at least set defense up. I think that's what it is only, but yeah. But, just in case, so for everyone, just get in there and do some combat. So everyone does their part, like, just be able to select who should they face versus just taking an easy target. But yeah, pretty decent.
I like it. The team coordination is going to be awesome.
Right. So, let's get off of that real quick. So, because we pretty much done from there. So we already talked about that, but okay. So let me get this out the way. So let's bring this in, right? Let's bring this in. So, from your perspective, my guy, how do you feel about raids from the time of you coming into the game? Like, how do you take your experience?
For me, then, so like doesn't go that far back. So just before, like 2 weeks before the Lady Noel, like November, maybe late November, early December is when I first started. Just because I saw the Skeletor, because one of the Skeletor ads on YouTube definitely really helped. And I did at the same time I was doing a free cash. So that's kind of like, I was like, you know what, let's give it a try. So from then to now, there's not a big jump. So that I've seen a couple good quality of life stuff introduced. It looks like they're doing a lot of stuff in regards to improving, and updating the game. But yeah, as for what it was like back in 2017, I only have like a rough understanding of what it was like back then based on the videos that I've seen and gone back and heard from like, the classic guys like Nubs or Hell Hades, Cole Red, stuff like that. Guys talk about what it was like back then, but I like the trajectory. That's the most important part, right?
Right. No, that's for sure. So for me, right, looking at what raid was back then to what it is now, definitely had a nice big jump in progression as far as where it was before. A lot of the new stuff that new players are able to do in Raid Shadow Legends were not in the game back then. For instance, the free silver that they give you in the early games, that's brand new. The apprentice pass, brand new. Just the new legendary login for the 7-day new legendary, plus then plus some extra rewards for the next you can say 28 days or so. Well, the next 21 days afterwards. Yeah, you were able to get like free gear, free resources, which is pretty big, early on. And if you start the game off with that overall. So, pretty big stuff, right? A lot of big updates, a lot of solid updates. I'll definitely say Raid has grown since then. But one thing I do still challenge, though, is has it really grown? Which we're definitely going to get into this conversation overall, like in our thoughts overall. But yeah, so let's go into the next one. And this is pretty much us talking about, from our personal view, is the state of the game of Raid. And for all of you that's wondering, what is this really all about, Wally? Or, as far as the topic as we have it up here. And that is, honestly, where do we feel about where Raid is as a game overall? Like, how do we take the nature of it? And for me personally, I still think if you're new, like if anyone comes into this game as a new player, like just off of the notion of just seeing the game and then just thought, okay, I would love to try it out, right? I still think without us testing it out yet, I still believe, even if they're the new add-ins to the game, I still believe that raid, in most cases than not, is still a tough lane for new players to still join the game. And the reason why I say this is because, granted, yes, there is different avenues. So let's say if you end up finding raid content creators and all this other stuff, but they have content creator links for some of them, and amongst their content creator links, they give you some free champions that can help you in your early advances of the game. There's even websites where you can go to that will you pretty much would do you pretty much will log into the game. The game itself will you log into the website, right? You go to the website, you pick your 2 champions that you want to pick up, you pick a Primo code champion that you want, and then from there, voila, then you take that, you make your account, you start the game up, everything else. They give you the free champion that they promised you. You put the Primo code of the free champion you want, and then, of course, voila, then you get what you get. But most people won't really know about that unless, they do some research. Some people that just dig in, they will end up playing the game first. They may like it here and there, and then they end up finding out that, oh, wait, you actually can get a link to join the game, and they give you free champions. Oh, I started this game straight up. I'm like, so see, and, and I think from that perspective alone is there's not a great access to come into the game and be able to get into the game at a very good standing. So I still believe that raid, from a new player's perspective, without any assistance coming into the game, as far as raid in their in their ads and stuff like that, there is no real help for them to really come into the game, and it's still a daggering, a daunting start. Because think about it, you start with your beginner champion, right? The first champion that they give you after you're doing the tutorial is going to be sniper. Mm-hmm. Then you do campaign. Amongst campaign a little bit, once you get to the 3rd or 4th chapter of the first chapter 1, and then you get to the 3rd or 4th part, they give you Crusader, right? Which is another common champion. Then if you beat the full chapter, you get War Priestess. So right, you get 4 champions right there in total. But those 4 champs are going to do you no favors. Then, of course, by the time you're done with the tutorial, you can pop open the rest of the shards, whatever uncommons that pop out. You may have those as a helping source. But other than that, you're pretty much stuck a little bit, right? So now you're building off of that, and then you're trying to see how far it can go. Of course, by the time you finish the first chapter, now you get the novice tournament, right? And amongst the novice tournament, now you have to start up trying to build up as much points as you can by beating up campaign, then beating up anything in the dungeons as much as you can. Of course, beating up arena. But then it's you're pretty much stuck at that point, because now you have to ask yourself, well, damn, how are you going to be able to deal with all this, right? And then your main pocket of dealing is you're dealing with a whole bunch of, how do I say this? You're at a low quality of champions in the early game, and yet you can't do nothing about it other than just keep pushing through. And you're trying to make as much points as you can early on, because you want to get the top rewards on the sidetrack amongst your speed gear to get the speed gear. So, it's pretty tough early on in the game. But you tell me, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, if it seems like they do, if you're 1,000% beginner, you've never played this game, it feels like you got a good start. Like you said, all the reward champions they get just for completing towers, for example. And then when it comes to getting shaman and those 7-day login rewards and stuff like that. But when you step back and you really analyze them as you get more knowledge in the game, you realize that all those champions are quite outdated and don't really give you a good foundation in the game at all. That's why I guess promo links do exist, and promo new player promo champions list or exist, because they're kind of create a bridge for that gap, for new players to be able to get into a good stable position within raid. So I totally get what you're saying, where it's a lacking. So yeah, like it just feels outdated. But even with that being said, with the outdated champions, with some good strategy, and with it's easier said than done for a complete beginner, because you don't know, right? So you'd have to watch channels like this one or yours, where we give strategies to be able to play without the advantages of something like that, but or just to learn the game to another state, where there are people out there that are doing like rare only challenges, right? Or mythic, or was it green shard champions that you only get from green shards, right? So, and there's able to get to really far stages of the game, but that requires a whole bunch of knowledge that beginners don't have, right? So, but
patience.
and patience to learn that stuff, right? So for a semi-experienced player, maybe, or a returning player, I think a new start without any promo code or anything like that, it's still doable. But for a complete beginner, maybe someone that's never even played this style of game, it might feel a little deceiving, or may not deceiving. Deceiving is a bad word. A little bit more underwhelming, not deceiving, I think, for once they get to these stages where they think that they have a good solid roster, where they've got they've put, for some reason they've made Sniper go to level 60, or War Priest, or all these things, and then all of a sudden you realize you're not that strong in comparison to what you're seeing else out there, right? So yeah, outdated is I guess, if I want to say all in one word, just outdated would be that start, in my opinion.
Right. So just to keep on going, because one of the many things that we have is, so we already talked about a little bit of what they have grown since the release, like what they evolved since the release. But because pretty much the main question I'm going to still hit is, like, as far as just like the things that they can do for the betterment of their changes. Like, so for one, right, I do believe, like, if you're trying to sell players to the game, I think regardless if it's any ads on YouTube, Facebook, wherever the ads may be, right, you should always entice them with 2 champions or so, maybe 2, maybe 4, whatever which one you want to consider, right? You should entice them with those type of set of champions, and then just send them in there. For instance, right, Hell's Hades, they had their challenge, right? And the 2 champions that you could start off with amongst the challenge were Tagore and Ugo. Great champions. To be honest, they cover a lot of the game amongst the 2 of them, because they cover almost every other champion early on that you really need, right? Tagore is speed, reviving. You got Ugo with the leech, decent heal,
cleanse, revive.
Yeah,
block debuffs.
Yeah, so she's covering. Right. They're both of those 2 champions alone are covering a lot in the game. Yeah, from a lot of champions. So that right there alone helps a lot of players, right? Especially when you're starting the game. So being able to bring in players like that, bring in new players with just like that added support, with your, like, okay, if you send an ad like, hey, do you know about Raid Shadow Legends? If you don't, come into the game and we'll give you 2 epic champions within Tagore and Ugo that'll give great
automatically
start, right? And then that's going to be the best way to get in there, regardless of whatever ads. But then, of course, it's like, well, let's say someone didn't know through the ads and they just got it through, the mobile application. Then hopefully, something with the mobile application, like even if you just download the game, you should still be able to start with 2 fresh, champions just to help you out, like automatically. You know what I'm saying? Like, so something like that just to get you a jump start. Because right now at this point, anyone starting freshly brand new and with no added help is just a daunting advance
experience.
It's just daunting.
It creates that kind of situation where there's kind of like a time frame before they give up and potentially move on. And it's a shame, because once you get to maybe even mid early game, like or late mid early or late early game, because there's like so many different stages within early game, mid game, late game, and then end game, right? So like super early game is just like extreme early game. It's just getting your campaign farmer set up, right? So yeah, so like you really don't get to start experiencing the fun of the game until you're well into the early game and you've gotten 5 or 6 or 7 60s, and you're starting to have fun, or starting to realize that there's a lot more in like team composition, and you start kind of thinking about builds that you want to go, and it just changes the way that you play the game and the way that you view the game. And a lot of people, because of that daunting start, if they don't even know about any of those things, they're not even going to get to experience it, which sucks.
Right. So that's one of the many things right there that I just look at and be like, that's just one of the main things that they could fix. And then another one is like, hold on, let me see. I think you actually have it in here already. So yeah, let me share this real quick. So the Apprentice Pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Neither between the Apprentice Pass or the 7 New Day Login Champions, right? If you get the 7 New Day Login Champions without the interference of the
champion chase or something like that,
the champion chase, as far as for the new champion legendary that they're going to sell to you, right? So pretty much if you play this regularly without nothing interference, right? So pretty much you will get Shaman, right? Which is showed on this screen on the right-hand side of the screen. And she'll give you, amongst that, you'll get epic lifesteal gear. Usually the epic lifesteal gear is probably the best gear you'll get early on in for your starter champion to be able to do campaign farmable stuff, right? So it's the best gear at the start. Whereas now, if you don't get this at the start, then you're pretty much left with RNG lifesteal gear, which is a nice set of rares at like 5 and 6 star gear, give or take. And they give you a full sets of that, I think at least twice within the lineup, give or take, which is pretty good, decent, as long as they roll right. If not, then it's like you're just selling just to get silver. Wait,
don't those always roll the same? Is it there's one lifesteal set from the like beginner set that always rolls the same, right?
Yeah, that's the lifesteal from the shaman. But as far as the one through the Apprentice Pass.
Oh, yeah. And the other drops from like the novice tournament, stuff like that, those are they roll. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So
I misunderstood.
So definitely it is one of those things. But one of the things that I will say, like, is another solid change is either you change the 7 and the 14 day logins, which is the shaman and the Jizzo, as far as neither giving them a buff so then they can actually do a little bit more, or B, just change them altogether. And for me personally, I think for the first 7 days, like, change shaman, just give us the Wreck the Draft, right? The Wreck the Draft that's already in the Apprentice Pack, just give us the Wreck the Draft. Why? Because personally, better reviver, better all-around reviver than the shaman, with the extra additive of giving you the healing plus also perfect veil. I mean, that's pretty great, especially for your nuker champion early on in your starter champion. That's going to be pretty great overall to get that, especially mitigating damage. Just better. But and then as far as for Jizzo, if you were to change him, I would think, I would go with Gizgar the Sagile. Like, he's pretty decent early on in defense-based champion, right? So you're matching two of the same. So I'm getting you two of the same affinities, right? They're both for, like, shaman exchanging for the right to draft is the same affinity. Jizzo Jizzo taking a step out and then bringing in the Gizgar, same affinity, same epics. So I think that getting those two champions in exchange are probably way more better overall for you. But the reason why I'm also naming Wreck the Draft has probably changed, because I don't feel like I would make a payment for the Apprentice Pass knowing that Wreck the Draft is already in the game. It's like, I know I can keep getting shards Wreck the Draft. I mean, the only good thing is like, if you have Wreck the Draft because of Primo codes or a link or a content creator's link, right? You're pretty much getting another Wreck the Draft, right? So it's like Faction Guardians, by all means. But if not, then it's like, it's sort of wasteful. I rather get a champion that I know like it's like a one-time guaranteed deal. Like, okay, I have a 3 weeks and 3 days left, right, to get the top champion, like a Ronda, Ninja, something that you can't even pull. Those types of champions would make sense.
Yeah. Exactly. We remember when we were talking about this earlier. Right. Yeah, like to revamp these champions, because right now the Apprentice Pass for a complete beginner that you don't know nothing, it seems like a cool. Oh wow, a reviver. You know, she Veil. You see that when you look into the champion, like, oh, you know, this champion looks cool. But then when you look at it, yeah, it's really not worth it when you're looking at what the other champions that have been paid for, like the He-Mans of the world, right? Or the ones that are have some sort of royalty, right? So a good rework of this, like you're saying, where now these champions that kind of feel like they not worth it, because like for you were saying that the value proposition for the Apprentice Pass doesn't feel like it's worth it, because you're only in it for the materials all the way up until there, and like the record wrath is just kind of like meh, you know, you just get it. You might get a duplicate, right? If you've already got her from a code or a link. So being able to put a champion worth going for, like Ninja or Ronda, these champions that have that they have to pay for, right? Or they're just they have to pay royalties on. At least now they're actually getting money for them to be able to pay them, and now we can get access to these champions that aren't pullable, right? So I love that idea to revamp that Apprentice Pass and some of these champion passes or gladiator passes, all these weird things, just add them into the rotation, because it'd be really awesome for me to get Ninja, because I didn't play during that time, and he's an awesome champion, and I get wrecked by him all the time, and I'm like, man, I want him, and I can't. There's no way for me to get him. So that'd be a good way to be able to introduce those champions that we can't pull, and it be worth it, because you get a whole bunch of other stuff on top of it, right? And then then bring these other champions, like you're saying, Record Wrath, and in replacing Shaman, so then they feel like they're not outdated anymore, and that maybe that would address that feeling of where I was saying earlier, like in one word, the new player experience feels outdated, right? So.
Yeah. So definitely, those are like some of the upgrades that I would do overall. But what are changes or reworks were you thinking about that you would probably did?
The changes that see, because I have a different perspective in comparison to you when it comes to the new player experience, because the barrier of getting your first level 60, I find, is what makes people quit. So my train of thought was to everybody's been talking about it, is to revamp the challenges in general to make it more modern, and in while doing so, I think that we can introduce champion challenges, if you want to throw that slide up there so we can see, because there's like those like 5 or 6 champions that we can get that are campaign farmable, that are just that are awesome, you know, Eris, War Maiden, and stuff like that, and have a champion challenge for each one of those champions. And then throughout that process, not only do you get feasts and like full experience brews, energy, right? Have like maybe like a unique experience boost for just beginner players that do that challenge track, so that instead of 100% XP, it's like 1,000% XP. So they're able to actually get a campaign farmer set up fast, instead of hitting that wall really early on, because that's for me is the worst part of the new player experience for me, because like I still don't have that understanding of the value of a lot of these champions. To me, it feels more important to focus on not letting people get fed up and quit the game before they even get started. So, because you can get a whole bunch of cool champions and whatnot, but then if you don't ever get 1 to 60 and then you quit the game, it doesn't matter how good of a start you get, right? So that was my idea, just kind of challenge rewards. Maybe it's like a champion challenge or something, where it's just on another bracket where maybe it's only available to beginners only, maybe so then that way you get a copy of, like Diabolist, a War Maiden, Spirit Host, Eris, right? So that at the very end, on top of you having all these champions given to you, you have a good a basic team that has a whole bunch of different strengths and kind of allows you to see how a basic team comp works, and then kind of gets you a good solid foundation, a foot on the ground to be able to kind of transition into the game, right? So that keeps people from quitting before they even start. That's my whole train of thought on having this kind of addition to the revamping of challenges that's supposed to be coming in the future, right?
Right. I mean, I could agree to you. I mean, because I'd say this, right? Like, let's say, like, if the tab is like campaign tab, right? And then amongst the campaign tab, like the first campaign tab for normal or however it is as far as the first stage. Yeah, like, okay, chapter 1, right? You complete chapter 1, and then they said, okay, get a free Valerie as far as a reward for completing chapter 1, right? If you didn't get her already amongst doing it naturally.
From a drop, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So then, of course, each of the chapters, like, okay, you get chapter 1, you get Valerie. The next solid chapter would be chapter 4, which would be the Spirit Host. The next one will be chapter 6, which would be the Harris. The next chapter, I think it would be 8, would be the Templar. 9 would be the War Maiden. And then, of course, the 12th would be the Diabolus, right? So pretty much, separating that within the first chapter, and then say, okay, after completing the first chapter, now you get all the, the rare, the rare champions in the campaign that are actually significantly good.
Worth good. Yep.
Yeah, and then picking them up. I can see that for sure. As fair, it's fair transition, especially just giving new players a good start of getting like some of the more solidary rares in the campaign, and then getting them at least their first run of getting like one of them before they actually have to chase it in campaign overall. So yeah, I can see that.
And then more importantly, the rewards that you get along the track to get like Spirit Host. Let's say there's like 5 levels to it. So as you could get through the campaign, you hit milestones, and as you hit those, you get like 15 experience brews, right? You get the next time you hit it, so at the very end, you get like, you end up with like 3 feasts, like 5 or like 3 full XP brews, just making it so that they're able to get like 3 or 4 60s set up in a relatively quick amount of time. And then for experienced players that are restarting the game, maybe that are maybe kind of returning, they can identify those and maybe not even use those those resources on those champions, and they can just opt to be like, I'm going to hoard all those things until I've pulled a bunch of epics and maybe legendaries to use those, so that way I can just go from hero or from 0 to hero, you know what I mean? So kind of gives another aspect to the new player experience, is my train of thought. Because like the rewards of the feasts and stuff like that, I think are more important than the champions that you get, because then people can get to like 360s really fast, and they feel like, oh man, like the first time I got like my 3rd or 4th 60, I was like, oh man, I feel like I'm actually playing Raid now, and I want people to feel that excitement. That way they can play longer. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, the feast parts, I mean, I would rather just get like a decent amount of chickens versus the feast, for the simple fact
chickens and stuff like that. Just a whole bunch of stuff, to make it easy.
Yeah. The reason why I'm saying I'd rather just trade in more so for like getting chickens more than the feast, because funny enough, I actually found this out, right? When you do the feast is worth like 1,000, well, like not 1,000, but 1 million just to upgrade a champion with it. And then if you're doing like 5 different 5-star chickens, then it's like 35,200 just to rank up. So it was sort of very interesting, because I thought when you get the feast, not only is it upgrading you, it's also like ranking you to max level. I thought at first it was like that, but not. It wasn't like that exactly. It's just like, okay, they're just replacing the other chickens by just giving you this one big one, but at a more steeper cost. So I was like, that, I don't know if that sounds right, but
I'm sure they'd have to rework those costs and values, maybe for complete beginners. Maybe it's a reduce or something like that if you're doing it through the track or whatever. I'm sure that if they're gonna rework the challenges like they intend to and make it more 2025 friendly, because like 2025, because like like getting I have to go back into normal campaign and get so many attack percentage weapons, and then I got to get this, and it's just like so outdated, and people, like, a lot of people don't even do them, right? Like, I'm 3/4 complete. I only have the arena challenges to do on my main account, and I remember that was tough to get through. And I'm old school from an era where grinding and doing quests and challenges like that is what we used to do, right? We're achievement hunter. I come from the achievement hunter era, I guess. And then before that, in just like traditional games, it was, our games were grindy, our MMOs were grindy, right? So to me, it doesn't seem, but like for like a younger person playing the game or something like that, I can totally see the heavy grindiness totally putting people off, right? So try to get them hooked, because then if we can get them to get like 3 or 4 60s, you know what I mean, and then they're like hooked on the game, and then they spend their first 30-40 bucks, you know, then they're going to be hooked on the game, and then it's going to be easier for them to accept that now I got to grind and do a whole bunch of dragon tournament and ice golem and then get up to level 20, and you know what I mean, then they're going to be more willing to stick through the grind instead of you know, getting through like, man, I'm only level 45 and I can't even get through to brutal, I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, try to prevent that from happening.
Right. So yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely for sure. But you got another one?
Similar to that one is maybe kind of the one thing that I was thinking about was that fusions, just the general fusions for like Relic Keeper or everything. It's a long time in the game before you just kind of naturally fall into it. So maybe instead of, if they don't rework and create challenge like champion challenges where you get all those things, maybe creating basic fusions so that you can get these really good rares out of campaign, so that where it requires like 2 greens to get an heiress or something like that, and that way it'll introduce the player base to what fusions are, and then get ready for them when we have to do the Relic Keeper fusion when it comes in the missions, right? For Arbiter. So, and then that way you get the ability, maybe make him only fusible once. That way that you can't like kind of manipulate it and get a crap ton of copies real easy, but at least get a way to help you get the campaign farmable, like really good campaign farmable champions like War Maiden, Spirit Host, Diabolus, Right Templar, all those guys. But yeah, that'd be another way that I was thinking that they could update or maybe get people introduced to stuff so that they're wanting to do it when a fusion comes, or in general, you know. That's coming from a beginner mindset.
Yeah, I mean, I say it like this. I understand the idea of what you're saying, but I wouldn't use those champions, because it's like, okay, if we use those champions as far as a fusion teaching moment, right, to teach them how to fuse up to a champion, then it's like, okay, well, are we then stripping them from the campaign at that point? Which honestly, I wouldn't.
No, they would stay there. That's why you can only fuse them one time. But because like you were saying, there's a moment where sometimes you get too far past and it kind of becomes tedious to go back and be like, man, now I got to go back and farm for War Maiden. I got to go back and farm for Eris. But then they're like, oh wait, I've never done my Eris fusion, right? And they can just quickly do it and be done with it. You know what I mean? Like giving you that one shot option so that you don't have to go dump a bunch of energy into brutal stage 10.
I mean, honestly, yeah, because I mean, well, I know you're using that as an example, but I think, yeah, definitely, like they can definitely use a potential rare champion as a considerable like fusible champion. Like, okay, here's some uncommons, get the uncommons, and then get this potential rare champion. I can see them doing that, and it's like, okay, you make that early type of advancement to get that champion, and it can be really, frequent. But yeah, I don't know if they're gonna add it, because right now, like the main 2 that they have as far as epics is pretty much Brahma, and then of course Relic Keeper, which Relic Keeper is a little bit more frequent.
Because of the mission,
yeah, but Brahma not as much, because you have to get 2 Pacific Void champions that are through shards, and there's no other way to get them through other champions, like other uncommons. Like 2 of them, 2 of the rares you can get through other uncommons, but the other 2 you have to strictly get them through shards, or in this case through fragments, through Tag Team Arena in the early extended game, where you can just build that up and then get them from there. But yeah, it's pretty tough overall.
For sure.
Yeah, but something very interesting, overall. But with that said, I mean, let's talk about this, right? Let's let the last piece of this conversation be done, and that we're going to be out as far as being done with our first episode
podcast
episode of this. But this is going to be the RSL challenge. So I thought I created this little idea between me and Supreme. We would do this challenge, right, where we try to test the theory of, is Raid really like still needs a tweak for real, like new players in the game to really advance for new players, right? And in this tweak, what I would do is pretty much what we're going to do in this challenge is pretty much like anybody else is. We will start new Raid Shadow Legends account. We will not do no links, nothing of that nature, no primo codes. We're going to come in here straightly naked. So that means, hey, we start the game just as regular. We pick our starter champion. In this case, right now, between me and Supreme, we're starting with the best 2 options, which is neither Kale or Aethel. Supreme is going to be taking Aethel while I take Kale. So just to make the challenge interesting. So we take one of each different of the starter champions. And what we'll do is, for the first time in, we'll do for the first year, we'll do it like 1 year into the game, because we'll do it all the way until we get the visits, right? And then amongst us getting the visits, we'll constantly, we'll probably do some, reviewing of the account periodically to see how far we came into the game and like how far different it has from the start when we started to the time we got into it. Overall, like, were we able to make some major gains based upon pulls? If we not, everything else of that route. What type of what lane that we took to get through the game? Like when like for instance, just an example,
was
right?
it slower? Was it faster? What kind of obstacles we're going to experience? Yeah, for sure. It's going to be wild as a complete beginner. Trying to kind of rationalizing theory craft with my beginner new brain, but I speculate you're going to do much better than me. But I still am curious to see, because my perspective will be different than yours, and that's what's the important part, right?
Right. But I think one of the biggest ordeals with those challenges, right, is like, for instance, let's say hypothetically, I may not consider using shards at all. I may go through the thick of it and be like, if I do shards, I'm only going to go mythical shards. You may say, screw this. I'm gonna just hope and bank on the best, and you're going to start pulling your rare shards and just see if you ever get a solid champion. Because, the shard part is going to be the major thing, right? It's going to be
shard
that
management
part of saying, do the shards give you a better option of champions from what you're already gaining right now? Because if not, it's like, because on one hand, right, at the early extent, you probably would just save every last of those ancients, voids, and sacreds as much as possible, and just wait for a 2x or a 1+1. So then you can go in there, or maybe if you're willing to gamble, the progressive chance, which honestly ain't always the best gamble overall, but you wait for like the 2x or the 1+1. We recently got a 2x earlier, right? We have a bunch of previous progressive chances, so that +1 is coming eventually. The +1's coming eventually. So
remember they said that they made some changes to progressive chance, so maybe it's better now to gamble during progressive chance. For maybe I might have to put that to the test. I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, we'll see. That's part of the that's part of the game and the strategy part, right? Just to see how this all played out. But definitely, we're gonna do the little challenge. We're gonna do all this stuff. Definitely, I'm gonna try to figure out some type of like checkpoints like that we can like think about, because of course one of the many checkpoints is going to be like how fast did we started Demon Lord, like what was our overall like our first score, and then how far have we progressed within that score, things like that, like how fast were we able to go into dragons, like as far as like the deepest we ever went within the day one, right? Stuff like that, just to check mark and everything else of that nature. That's just like the first challenge on the first year in, right? And then next one we'll do it again, but this time we'll do it through the more lesser picks, which is the collect and Elhanes. We'll figure out who we pick after that, and then we'll see how that all works on from that part, and we'll see from overall, like, from those two challenges, from the two different challenges, is it way more, like, is it truly better now, or is it just still needs a lot of work to really progress in this game overall? And we're gonna definitely give you guys that hint of experience to show you like how far this game has really progressed, if it has or if it hasn't. But definitely it's gonna be something that I want to really, between both me and you, we want to show out and show how far it can go in the extent of this game, because it's definitely going to be interesting to start this game and see how it progresses.
Definitely. Now we're hoping to start that next week. We're going to be starting it because we're going to wait until the current Alice chase is over, so it doesn't have a negative impact, because we want to start with Shaman, and we want that date, the normal day one experience, that if you were to just jump in on any random day instead of during an event. So see what that feeling's like. So that should be on the 2nd or the 1st or 2nd there. The Alice chase ends, and then we'll be able to start this. And so next week's podcast, so like Wednesday when we do our podcast, we'll have that checklist read up. Maybe we'll just do like the first month. That way we can, if you guys want to follow along, you guys can do so and kind of keep track yourselves. And then you can leave them in the comments. And and then we'll do kind of like a launch stream. So we'll both decide which day we're going to start, like day one, and we're going to make sure that it starts right after a reset, so that way we get that full day one. We're not going to be cheesing it with like starting like an hour before reset, so we get 2 logins on our first playthrough. We're going to try to make it as legit and bare bones as possible.
Right. So also another thing that I also want to talk about is just to make this gaming experience a little bit more interesting. So, like, even when we do the second half of this, I think we should at least be able to show off the differences. So, second half, we'll definitely be able to use, like, like links and stuff. So then we can show the comparison of progression, like how fast and difference we will definitely progress overall. So, I think what we'll do is we'll use, like, the raid generator, like, link page, and then we'll...
the second challenge.
Yeah, and then we'll craft up to see like what do we want to use, and we'll figure out that, and then from there we'll figure out how we want to progress that far, and we'll see how we push forward in that challenge overall as well. So so definitely, guys, feel free to tune in and watch us do this challenge when we start it. It's definitely going to start around pretty much next week, which is Wednesday, the next week's Wednesday, which is the 2nd of April. We're going to start that on reset. So that will more likely be 8 o'clock Eastern time, my time, and I believe yours as well, right?
Eastern.
So so we'll start it up. We'll see how it all plays out. And then, hey, check us out. See how this all works out. Much love to anybody that came and watched the show. Hopefully you like what you heard today. And if you do, make sure you log in to both me and Supreme's channels. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications to stay tuned to the content that we have in the future. And hopefully you guys have a good one. Much love to all y'all. And thank you for our first successful podcast real quick. So,
thanks for hanging out, guys. We'll see you guys on next week's All Things Raid podcast, episode 2. I'll see you guys later.
Peace.